G'day, legends. James Green from Emergent Leaders Foundation. I've been working with quite a few leaders in business and in communities actually to help them understand how to set up a philosophical framework in which literally sets the foundation to actually dissolve arguments. Now, this is it's been pivotal in my relationship with Kirst over 25 years. It's been pivotal with my relationship with the kids. It's been pivotal in my relationship with everyone in the outside world. And the more, I suppose, emotionally invested I am in the actual relationship, the more pivotal this whole thing goes for. Now, what do I mean by how to dissolve an argument? Most arguments stem because two people have established a place of identity, and that identity holds a whole deep level of meaning to it. And so therefore, they're not actually discussing the same thing. And why are they not discussing the same thing? Because the meaning is subconscious and it's held behind them in what's called shadow. So two people are a front to each other and they literally can be regularly discussing a completely different thing from the other person. Now, when you listen to what's being said by a person, leaders listen to what's being said, not just through the voice or anything like that. They're listening intently across what's not being said, the language, which is of inference, etc. And so when a person starts to project, in other words, throw onto the other person their wound, then a person in balance can actually see through that and see through the wound to the actual person. And that's when compassion comes. Because if a person is throwing stuff at you in wound, they're in pain. Now, if you allow yourself to be triggered by that wound and come back at them, retaliate, etc., then what's actually happening is you're allowing their wound to trigger your wound. And so basically we've got two wounded bulls running around the paddock, and that just ends in headbutts. So the point about this is when you allow yourself to stop, to go still, and to witness what meaning you're associating with, what deep level meaning you're associating with the topic of discussion in argument, then quite regularly you can allow that meaning to shift, dissolve, because it's attached to a belief. And that belief will often be, I need to have the last word, which actually means I need to be right. What's the need to be right about? It needs to be right about because I can't be wrong. What's wrong about? It means I'm guilty. I'm ashamed. I'm not lovable. And so, I need to be seen as right all the time. That person that has a low self-confidence. And so if they're coming at you constantly, berating you, undermining you, projecting on you, that's a wound of theirs. If you allow that mud to stick, it's because something in you actually believes what they're saying to be true. So the way we actually can do this is, firstly, we look through the wound and we just acknowledge with compassion the person. Cool, they're coming at me in wound. And now I let that just move past. Then I interact in a way in which brings balance. Then I sit and I go, I felt a rise in me. Why did I feel a rise in me? Because something they said is actually true in my belief system. So then I go deeper and deeper and deeper. I find that, and that's my next step, to resolve or heal that unhealed wound. Great example of this was about 10 years ago. Kirst wasn't really too happy with me. I can't remember exactly what I'd done. I just remember the incident really well. We hadn't been able to find a place to live. We'd had quite a few discussions about, what we wanted and what we didn't want. And, I was being a bit dogmatic about a number of things about what I actually wanted. And she was feeling overwhelmed because she'd taken a lot of responsibility on to create the situation for the family. And so literally what we were doing is two people that were coming at the situation from two different angles, but there was just a lot of pain. Anyway, Kirst gone off into her mum's room, and I needed to get the girls to go and see circus. They were doing circus at the time. And so I walked in, and she'd been in there for a couple of hours, and I just sat on the edge of the bed, which is not in her personal space, and I said, is there anything I can do? And she went at me. She went at me with 10 things that were right at me. The number 4 was, I don't fucking love you. Now, I sat there, and these daggers came straight at me, and they had so much venom, so much intensity. Only, an amazing, powerful woman can do this, in that way. But they just flew straight past me, including I don't love you, just flew straight past me. Number 8 hit its mark. And number 8 was, everything you professionally do, your family must suffer for. nothing you professionally do can your family benefit from. Now, that one went, and that one hit. And I had to really take a deep breath, because the situation wasn't about me. It was about letting her vent, letting her get the emotion out in the anger, and just simply holding space. So I held space. 9 and 10, can't even remember what they were. They just flew straight past. Anyway, I said, I've got to go now. So I got up, grabbed the girls, took them to circus. Normally I'd go in with the girls and watch them for an hour and a half. I sat in the U and I went deep. And that wound took me right back to my father, who was an Anglican priest, who was of service to humanity in so many different ways. But the thing was, what I saw was a man constantly going out, helping everyone. So I developed this belief that I actually had an absent father, and I didn't really have an absent father. Even though, yep, he had an adverse mental condition, like PTSD and depression from Vietnam, etc., he was still very much there when I wanted him to be. But I so wanted to prove myself to him that I couldn't actually sit and receive his actual presence when he was there. But the other thing was, I never saw him receive for all the amazing things that he did. So I believed that when I help people, I'm not allowed to receive, and my family therefore aren't allowed to benefit from it. This was a huge, deep belief in my system, and I'd inherited it from what I perceived of my father. And so that was the decision I made. Now, actually unfurling that literally took me the hour and a half. And it was an amazing gift that Kirst had done when she was throwing those daggers to assist me be triggered. Now, the thing was, that moment in time really allowed Kirsty and I to actually bond even deeper, because I didn't mention those 9 that she'd said. And I knew that I don't fucking love you was not true. It just needed to come out. And when I sat with her later, after everything had come down, and I presented the gift that she'd given to me, she was able to actually listen, receive, and understand. And not only that, trust developed in us, because she can then be verified that I'm listening, I take on what I need to take on, and I do the work I need to do. I'm not going to be triggered by the other stuff. And then I bring back the gift, which I build on and build self-confidence. So we could have gone into a massive argument that would have sent us south in our relationship. Instead, what happened is I was able to hold space, watch the daggers fly by, take the one that I needed to, and heal the wound that was presented to me. When you're in any situation, be that as a leader of a team, be that in an intimate situation, does not matter. If you allow yourself to see through the wound to the person, that will give you a level of compassion in the moment, which will then allow for balance and poise. Now, balance and poise means I can actually allow myself to witness the emotion, not get triggered by it, but at the same time feel what I need to feel, and that can be indicating where my next step is. In other words, makes my next healing step. If I keep doing this, arguments don't exist, because I see them for what they are. They're growth opportunities, and they're an opportunity to demonstrate to myself a committed level of detachment, which allows me to be balanced in the overall situation. Trust you got something from it.